All right, so boys and girls, today Mr. Berkey is going to lead you through a story that's going to help you understand how to add integers, okay? And when you're adding integers, it's not working. When you're adding integers, you can use a number line. You can use what we call the little chips that are positive and negatives, but I found those to be cumbersome and challenging when we get to bigger numbers or when you're trying to do it at home. So I came up with this story many, many years ago. I'll investigate it, but I can click for you. So I want you to listen, and you have to understand the ins and outs of this story. And this story I created, actually, it's one of my stories that I made up many years ago about Pawzies versus Neggies. Take it away, Mr. Berkey.
All right, so Pawzies versus Neggies. Is there something else to say on this slide? So, they've been fighting. They have a conflict for years and years and years. And this point is, it's going to show you guys how to add integers. Positive and negative integers. Right? That's what integers are. They're positives and they're negatives. So, Pawzies and Neggies.
Action.
Will be fun for us. So, the age-old conflict. All right, this is what they look like. Which one do you guys think is the Pawzies?
The one that's happy.
The one that's happy and smiling because he's optimistic. He's positive. He's ready to learn in math class. What's the other one? The Neggies, he's kind of frowning because he's a little pessimistic. He's like, oh, the world's out to get me. I don't really want to learn math today, even though I should learn math. So, Pawzies. Like I was kind of saying, they're optimistic, they're positive, right? They're ready to learn. They look for the good in everyone. Right? Neggies. They complain like middle school kids.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
What did I do?
So that doesn't mean you guys are all Neggies, but you do share that trait. Nothing goes their way and they feel everyone is out to get them. If you're in our reading class, guess who's a Neggie? Cole Matthews. Cole Matthews is a Neggie.
I'm a Neggie.
Anyways.
And about the Pawzies and Neggies, not one is better than the other. They're both the same. Neggies just complain about stuff. They're okay people, all right? You understand that? So the Pawzies are not better. The Neggies are not worse. They are created the same, but some complain and some look at the positive side. So that's how you tell the difference between them.
So, you guys know how old I am, how old Mr. Sandy are, right?
No.
They're older than us.
Way older than us.
For years and years and years, Pawzies and Neggies have been fighting. No.
He's like 22.
So anyways, way longer than that, the Pawzies and Neggies have been fighting. They've been in turmoil. They've been combating, right? So for basically forever.
And I talked to them before class to get along, just like I would with my own kids. And, oh, man, they don't get along.
They're fighting right now. What the heck?
So, not a good boys. Come on. So, they're going to try and get along for class to help you out.
So if you ask one of them, hey, why do you guys not get along? They couldn't tell you because they don't even know. Because this conflict is older than them, right? It's just like part of their being, part of their genetics, right? So they don't even know why. But there's this picture, and honestly, it looks a lot like you guys. Right? So this one kid on the left, I hate them. And then his friend is like, me too. Why do we hate them? And then their friend's like, I don't know. Basically what you guys look like. But here's the thing. I'm from Scotts Bluff, okay? And we hate Gearing. They're right across, so there's the North Platte River that goes right next to Scotts Bluff and Gearing right between us. We hate each other, right? Now here's the thing. Has Gearing sucked at sports for years? Yes. We still hate him anyway, so we can only beat him every year in football. We hate him anyway. Because it's a rivalry that is longer than time. There's nothing that's ever going to make Scotts Bluff and Gearing get along. And there's a holiday ham, right? So, Mr. Sandy told me a story. There was this lady. She would cut both ends of her ham in her pan. She'd cut both ends, put it in her pan, cook it and everything. And then she asked her mom, like, hey, Mom, why did we do this? Because she learned it from her mom. Her mom used to do that when she was a kid. And so she's like, why did you cut the ends off? Well, I didn't have a big enough pan. Well, now this lady feels foolish because she's always had a big enough pan. But she just did what her mom did. She didn't know why her mom did that. She had no clue, but she kept doing it because just what she always did. It's what she knew. Kind of like how the Pawzies and Neggies, all they know is how to fight. You have wars, right? Don't really know why. What was your thing on wars?
Well, just say like sometimes we battle the other side in the Middle East. Countries don't get along with each other. They don't even know why. They have wars against each other. They've been doing it forever. They don't even know originally why it started. They just don't like each other. So, and then it goes to, do you know what this stands for? WOGI. What does that stand for?
What? Brittany, stop being mean.
She's
Oh my gosh. The right thing.
She
Nice
stabbed me
to
like 10 times.
Hashtag be kind over here.
Yeah, good job.
I'm
not John.
So again, boys and girls, people at home are watching this video.
Commercial break.
Commercial break. Maybe you don't know what WOG stands for, but when you go to the high school, you're going to hear that. And it says, we own Grand Island. For years and years and years, I think it was a string of 12 years that Grand Island got beat by Kearney like 14 times. We beat them 14 times in a row, so we started doing the shirt, we own Grand Island. Well, then they got better. We weren't as good, and they beat us a couple times. Now they have a shirt that has WOK on it. Walk, we own Kearney, which I think is lame, but we don't get along with Grand Island. Here's the deal. I know people from Grand Island. They're great people. They're nice people, but our sports teams do not get along. And I try to put that aside. I respect our differences, but when I coached games against Grand Island, there's so many times there we would get ripped off by the referees and the home cooking while we were there. We lost games. And it was very frustrating. So we don't like that, you know? So that animosity is built up over the years. But we need to get along. We need to be friends and understand we're all in this together. So, but the whole thing of we don't get along, sometimes we don't know why. Okay?
So, the rules. Again, this is an age-old conflict for years and years and years. The rules have not changed at all during this entire time. The rules have been the same. They've been constant. Right? So for as long as this conflict's been going on, the rules have stayed the same. Kind of like how solitaire. I'll play solitaire sometimes. The rules were the same before I was born as they are now because they don't change. So the rules here stay the same. And this is what Mr. Samuel was saying earlier, and this is one of the most important things to remember when it comes to the Pawzies and the Neggies. You might think the Neggies are the bad guys, kind of like how you're watching Harry Potter. And you're like, Slytherin and me. They're bullies. They're going to end up being Death Eaters when they get older. But here's the thing, they're equal. They're all created equal. Alright, so Pawzies and Neggies are equal. So, that means that if one Pawzie and one Neggie are walking down the street and they see each other, and they get into a fight or they do a thumb war, they would cancel each other out. They would just disappear and not exist anymore or something. Cancel. So, there's 5 Pawzies. We're again strolling down the street, chilling, right? And then 5 Neggies also strolling down the street, chilling. They met each other. They'd be like, well, I hate you. We're going to fight. And then they would cancel each other out because 1v1 5 times cancel each other out.
All right, so what this is saying, if I had how many, what do I have here? People at home can't see this. What am I holding up? I'm holding up 4 Pawzie puppets. If they met up with 4 Neggie puppets, what happens?
Cancel out.
Cancel out. Now, here's the deal. Sometimes people use another word, and I don't like that word. The K word ends with a double L. I don't like that. They're just canceling out. Unfortunately, seriously, I've had tons of former students, probably 20, 25 former students that have died, that have been killed. And I don't like that word, and we're not going to use that word. When my boys play video games, yeah, man, so many people. No, you didn't. You canceled them out. I tried to teach them that because, in theory, that's not a good thing. So here's the deal. They cancel out. Each positive Pawzie and negative Neggie cancels the other one out. And what's left when they cancel everything out? 0. And that was our lesson 1. Make 0. What's that? Sorry, what, Ashton? Well, and in real life, you go to jail for that stuff. So I don't like throwing that word around. I don't like that word. I don't want to use that word. Unfortunately, that word happens. So we use the cancel word. Okay?
So there's 3 different situations that can occur with Pawzies and Neggies. The first situation is that one of them has a majority. Right? So let's say the Pawzies have a nice big group and they meet up with the Neggies. Well, the Pawzies could have 5, the Neggies could have 4. The Pawzies know they're going to win the fight. They don't even have to do the fight because they know they're going to win because they have more people. So everyone will cancel out and they'll have one laugh. He's like, chilling. So each Pawzie Neggie knows that if they have a majority in this battle, they will win no matter what.
So, for example, we have what am I holding up? 3 Neggies, and then 1 Pawzie comes walking up. Who has the majority? Abraham. Who has the majority? Neggies. And how many more do they have? So you got to ask yourself 2 questions. Who has more? Neggies. And how many more do they have? Well, how many more is 3 than 1? 2, because those cancel out. If I had, say, 5 Pawzies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Pawzies, and they met up with 2 Neggies, who has more? Pawzies by how much? 3. Can you do that calculation in your head? Yeah. Do you need a number line to do it? No. Do you need chips to count out and do it? No. And the chips are good at first, but then when you're dealing with numbers like our 24, 17, even Pawzies versus Neggies, you could just think of it in your head, and it's so much easier. No number line, no chips. Okay?
There's another way. If you also want to think of it like, imagine John Wick is walking down the street and he sees another John Wick. Who's gonna win? Neither one, because John Wick is way too good that they're gonna tie. They're gonna cancel her out. John Wick can't beat John Wick. No, they're the exact same John Wick.
Who is that?
No, but there's age difference.
If they're the exact same John Wick, then there wouldn't be.
Ashton, next situation.
Next situation is, let's say a bunch of Pawzies are walking down the street and they're like ready for a fight, but instead they see more Pawzies. Like, oh my gosh, so then they're gonna join together and be ready for a fight with some Neggies. They're gonna get bigger, right? Because if some Pawzies see more Pawzies, then they're gonna group together. Be like, well, now let's go fight some Neggies because there's more of us.
All right, and if I'm holding up this many Pawzies, how many Pawzies is that? And they meet up with this, how many Pawzies here? 3 here, 1 here. Do they cancel out? No, only 1 Pawzie, 1 Neggie cancel out. So they combine to make more. That's a good situation. And this kind of situation happened back in the Civil War. Do you remember the Civil War? You said a little bit about Civil War. What is a Civil War by definition?
A war
between people inside of a country. And it could be like in the United States back in the 1860s or so. Could be like North and South Korea. There's other countries too, like Sudan. Some of you are going to be reading Along Walks of Water. There was a civil war there many years ago, and it was the government against the South, people of the South, and they're trying to impose their beliefs on them. So we have the Civil War, and in our Civil War, not everybody had their uniforms. Some people would just be farmers out fighting for the North, and they're going against another group across the trees over there, and they're like, hey, what side are you on? We're on the North side. We are too. Do they keep shooting? No. They stop, and they do what? Combine to make more. Okay? So this is the problem you've been doing since you're a little kid. What's 3 plus 1? 4. But now it works with Neggies. If I had 3 Neggies and they met up with 2 more Neggies, do they cancel each other out? No, they combine and make more. This is the one that confuses kids at first, but it's simple. All right, and we can tie it to like money. If I owed you $3, then I'm like, can I borrow $2 more? Do I have $5? No. Do I have $1 or negative $1? No. I owe you a total of $5 in the end. Does that make sense? So Neggies and Neggies combine to make more Neggies. Okay? And again, that's a good situation. They just combine to make more. So again, to reiterate.
So if Pawzies are matched up or added to more Pawzies, then they increase in numbers. They get bigger. Same thing with Neggies. They meet up with some more Neggies. Like, your friends, hang out, let's chill, let's go fight some Pawzies together as a bigger group of Neggies. So, in simple terms, Pawzies plus Pawzies equals a larger number of Pawzies, and Neggies plus Neggies equals more Neggies.
No cancellations.
Eventually, you'll see these with actual numbers. We're just trying to kind of help you with the concept behind it.
And we got the puppet examples. You need to see any more? Do you got it? Good.
Now there's the make zero situation, right? So this is the last situation. Basically, this happens when they have the same amount. They're going for a fight and have exactly the same amount.
And if I had 3 Pawzies and 3 Neggies, they are the same amount, right? And what happens? Cancel out. And what do they equal? 0. They make 0. Okay.
Here's the thing: you might think, well, if they go into a fight knowing they're going to lose or they're going to tie, why do they go into the fight? Well, it's because they don't know any better. That's all they know. They're just going to go into the fight regardless. Even if they know the outcome, they're going to go into it.
When they combine or when we add, and if you look at our posters over there, combine is one of the words that means add. When they combine, they can battle. All right. And they battle when some are Pawzies, some are Neggies. When they're all Neggies, do they battle? No. What's the word phrase that we use? Combine and make more. All right. So we have the majority situation, easy, or the combine and make more.
All right, we have an example with real numbers. I know you guys are excited. So, you have 8 plus a negative 3. Who's going to win? The Pawzies, right? So they're going to win because they have a higher number. How much more are they going to win by? 5. So that's your answer, right?
Positive
so
5.
5 more Pawzies in this one. So you're going to end up with 5 Pawzies because the other ones will cancel out. Now here you have this one, negative 7 Neggies. Or 7 Neggies come up and they're going to face 5 Pawzies. Well, you know the Neggies are going to win because there's 7 of them, which is higher than 5. And they're going to have 2 guys left over. So it's going to be a negative 2. There's going to be 2 Neggies left. All right, what do you guys think this one is?
Negative 7.
Negative 7, Sam, right? You have 3 Neggies walking down the street. They're getting some root beer, right? They're getting some ice cream. They're going to make some root beer floats. And on their way to the store, they see 4 more Neggies. And now there's 7 of them enjoying the root beer floats.
Now, the parentheses around that, you'll see that from time to time. Those are not totally important, but sometimes the book does that. Sometimes I do it just to say that negative is with the 4. But really, we don't need it. If you write it appropriately, you don't need to put parentheses around them, but you might see that from time to time.
Ooh, here's some big numbers. This is a big fight, right? 15 Pawzies, 22 Neggies. Brittany, who wins? The Neggies. Isaac, by how much?
Negative 7.
So there's going to be 7 Neggies left over because they win. There's 7 more Neggies in this situation.
Would you want to do that on the number line?
Nope.
No, right?
So
So
I take out 22 little chips.
Yeah.
And then 15 of these chips and cross them off. No, you can do it in your head.
I want you to be as efficient as possible. And I think this storyline helps you be efficient and answer the answers quickly.
Ooh, this is the hardest one.
This one is the hardest one, seriously.
I'm scared.
Gabe, what's this one? All the pressure's on Gabe. Go, Gabe. What is this one?
Pressure.
What?
It's 7.
I think you're kidding.
No, he's telling me.
It's 7, isn't it?
Guys, take it go.
Tree plus tree equals.
7.
Oh, it's
Ashton says 7. I disagree.
6. No. That's what he said.
Oh, Gabe said it.
5/3.
All right, so here's the deal, and we joke, but I'm totally serious. Every year, kids miss this problem, and it's the problem you've been doing since you were little. They get the ones that were tough and new correct, and then they miss problems like this. You have 3 Pawzies. You have 3 more Pawzies. If you don't know how to add, it's going to be a little bit tougher. So hopefully we'll work on that. Redemption.
All right, who wins this one?
11.
The Neggies, because they add together. They get some root beer floats together. So now you have. I just came over with Now you have 11 Neggies. You don't like root beer floats?
You don't like Rupert
Again, this episode is brought to you by root beer and ice cream. The perfect root beer float.
All right. Who wins this one, John? The Pawzies. Lauren, by how much? How many more Pawzies are left over? They win. How many more? 4. Exactly. Here's again. Who wins this one?
Negative. No.
Would it be 26 or
26 negative.
negative 26?
Negative 26.
Negative 26. 26 Neggies.
And again, on that one, you got to remember the story. We have 13 Neggies. We have 13 more Neggies. They combine to make more, right? Is this super easy, or as the kids say, soupsies? Yeah. Yeah, you guys just said that. Which, Sophie, yesterday on the radio, guess what they said yesterday was? Wednesday. I heard it on the radio, Sophie. I wish I could have recorded it. Nobody says it that way. This podcast brought to you by Thursday, the day after Wednesday. All right.
People like people.
It's A plus B equals C.
So now we have an expression, A plus B. And we're going to substitute in A is 5, B is a negative 17. What would the value be of that expression?
12.
Our contestant says 12, and that would be incorrect. Negative 12, right?
Hey, so
And
if
again-
you say B plus A, would the answer be the same?
Could we flip it around and have B plus A? Is it the same answer?
Yes, because it's commutative.
Perfect. I was working with 8th graders this morning, and they were using, without really knowing, the commutative property, but with transformations of shapes, doing translations, rotations, reflections, and dilations. They didn't really understand. But yeah, you can do the commutative property in other areas of math, and it works here when you're adding.
All right. So imagine you're playing. You know how football has 11 man and there's like 8 man, right? So imagine you have 7-man football, some small town and somewhere. So imagine the offense and the defense go out there, and every single player just goes and tackles somebody else. How many players are going to be left standing? 0. So he has to go tackle someone too. So, yeah, 7-man football is crazy. All right. What about this one? Pawzies win. That's 6. And you'll get plenty of examples, right? We're going to give you guys some wiser feet. We're going to give you 2 cells. You'll have some practice. All right. One more. You got the same situation, so you keep adding, so you get negative 12.
What they said.
All right. And if you put down 12, would you get half credit? No, you get no credit because that is nowhere close to a negative 12. So make sure when you're writing it too, if you do write it, which you'll have a worksheet tomorrow where you're going to have paper pencil, make sure that negative stands out when you're writing it, okay? Make sure the answer that you choose on your activities have the negative or don't have the negative. It's a big difference. So for practice, due tomorrow by 8 a.m., I will start going in and grading these before or rate of school starts. You have 2 more IXLs, 7th grade as always, score of 80 as always, but C1 and C4. If you want to go higher, you can go higher. And then you need to go to the Google Classroom, and there's an Adding Wiser worksheet there. Now, let's say, Brittany, that you forget what you need to do. Where can you go instead of calling your teacher, emailing your teacher, texting your teacher, or Shazamming your teacher? I don't know how that works, but how can you find out what we did in class? Go to our Canvas or our blog. I put it in both places every day. I type it up, okay? So you can go there and figure out, or call a friend. So you have those 2 things to work on the rest of the class period. 2 IXLs, Wiser worksheet due tomorrow, beginning class.